Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three disgruntled harpies talk to you about everything we love in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we like. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today we're talking about a series. We're doing something new. We're talking about the Claws and Cubicles series by Kate Pryor, which has 3 short books in it. So we're going to talk about all of them. But before we get into that, I gotta warn you. I gotta let the people know that we're crass, unhinged, we're very unladylike. We're gonna use all of the swear words, and we're gonna talk about all of the naughty times. So if you're not into that, you've been warned. It's not my fault.
True.
Mm-hmm. But we'd love it if you'd join us. Join the dark side.
I just had visions of Wiggles sitting in a corner in a hood going, good.
Okay.
Listen, I'd be a way better Palpatine, that's all I'm saying. I'd be like, you
Big
know,
facts.
you don't have to kill everybody, but like, yeah, you should kill some people.
The children's a bit far, my
Yeah.
dude.
But what have you guys been up to? Get me caught up on what's happening.
Well, I read all 3 of these books when we were only supposed to read the first one, and then made y'all make sure you had already read the other ones. Danny already has like read all of them prior, but I was like, just so you know, I already read them all.
Hey, maybe do you want to say the name of them?
You know, I could if I had that pulled up and not the about the author bit. So could you?
Yeah, the books Wiggles is talking about is Love, Laugh, Lich, The Orc from The Office, and The Gargoyle from General Management.
Mm-hmm. So I did that. And then I also started 100 Baby Challenge on Sims.
Fuck yeah.
And it's already very unhinged. She's already fucked up because she had 2 babies with 1 dad. It's not going well. God damn it. So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
What have you been up to, Liz?
I finally finished the Bonds That Tie series. So I finally read the last one, which is Unbroken Bonds by Jay Bree. And I do not have the time to go on the fucking rant about this nightmare of a book.
Oh, no.
Give us the 1-minute rant.
Okay, so we'll just start off with the rating. 1.5 feels
Ooh.
generous.
Oh.
This entire series started off strong. I love the first book. It was a 4. It is a 6-book series. It should have been 3, 4 max.
Mm-hmm.
The last book is just pure repetitive bullshit where all of the fucking relationships are boring as fuck. These guys, once they finally get with Ollie, just lose all of their personality. The writing and pacing is atrocious to the point where the big battle scenes that are supposed to matter last like maybe 5 pages, and yet we spend 20 pages rehashing the same old fucking like, oh my God, I love them so much. Cool, show me that. Don't tell me that. Fuck off. I'm sorry, that book is bad. And if you love it and you love the series, please understand I also love the beginning of the series, and that's why I'm so angry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I won't be checking that out.
I know.
I did nothing.
Ooh.
We have a lot of stuff happening in the next couple of weeks. Also, it's the end of the school year, and so there was stuff happening with that. And I've been to multiple plays, and yeah.
Plays count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw Beauty and the Beast and Little Shop of Horrors.
That's
There you
some.
go.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm going to get us started on actually talking what we talk about.
Let's do this.
Yeah. So let me tell you about the author. There's not a lot out there that I was able to find other than this is what her bio says on Amazon. It says romance lover, mug hoarder, Capricorn. So you know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't understand astrology. Someone help me. Currently exploring the bounds of monster office romances, as we've observed.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find her on Instagram at by Kate Pryor, or you can join her Facebook group, which is Kate's Priory of Paranormal Romance.
I see what she did there. I like it.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
It is cute.
Also, outside of this series, she has another book called Meet Me at the Anvil. So you can check that one out too.
The cover looks very spicy.
There's a butt cheek.
There is a butt cheek on the cover.
And an anvil.
And an anvil.
How those two are related, you won't be able to find out unless you read the book. So go check it out.
Well, you smash both, right? Hit both?
I'm very proud of you.
Tap both?
I feel like I'm going to, again, get us back on task. So I think we should take these book by book. And that way, if you listen to us talk about one and you're like, hey, I want to read the other two spoiler free, you can go read them and then you can come back.
It doesn't take very long.
No, they're very quick. I would say with enough gumption and desire to read smut, you could read them all 3 in one day.
And I
without
did.
a doubt.
All right, Danny, Love, Laugh, Lich. What are we talking about?
So Love, Laugh, Lich is basically a office romance where it's the boss versus assistant kind of situation. He is the dark overlord of the evil company that has apparently taken over kind of the world. There's not a lot of world building in this, so
It's true.
deal with it. And so she is his assistant, and she goes in at one point and he needs a ingredient for a spell he's doing, and the ingredient he needs is a shiver. And she's like, well, I've got skin, just do it. And they get horny for each other. Discuss.
That is pretty much the plot.
Yeah. There's not a lot of deviation from that at all.
No.
I mean, just saying.
So it started with the shiver, and then it's a kiss, which it has to be her first kiss, or this whoever the person is that they are getting this ingredient from. And then I can't remember what the next one was.
Vulnerability or something.
Vulnerability.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I believe that's when they get down the first time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the fun thing about this world, though, is it doesn't seem to take itself all that seriously,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because he is the CEO of the company, which is Chief Evil Officer. Or no, it's not Chief. It's something else. Evil Officer. And the world is taken over by the evilness,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
which I'm sure is meant to mirror the level of capitalism in our world in a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And corporations and stuff. They also mentioned at one point that there was supposed to be like a savior hero person that was supposed to come and stop the evil Lich dude, but it didn't happen.
Yeah. And he's had a lot of assassination attempts. And so that is part of the world building that was done.
Yes.
is
Yeah.
that they are redoing the office to protect him from other assassination attempts.
Because
It's not even really to protect him so much as it is she went, basically what happened when the assassination attempt happened is she went to get something, and she had it was like the waiting room for his office, because he has like an interior office, but then she also has like hers that is a little bit separate from the rest of the office because she's his personal assistant. And so she walked out of the room to get something and came back, and her entire office was just demolished because he got attacked and he killed the person very easily and everything, but it just erupted her office.
Mm-hmm.
I like that the big problem they're having is that they're outsourcing specifically all of his spell ingredients to people to do like the shiver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the assassin got in. So I like that there is for as short as this book is and kind of just generally lighthearted and kind of silly, there's some thought to how
Yeah.
these things are happening.
There's also a weird standard of morality that's hard to
for
put
sure.
your finger on.
Yeah.
Because in some ways they're like, we can kill people for fun. Like whatever we want to do, as long as you have power, like do what you want to do.
Well, they talk about virgin sacrifices all the time.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah. And so it seems to be that the only way you're protected is if you are somebody who works within the company, and then you're not really that protected because at one point our big Lich guy here gets mad because someone from another like accounting or something like
From
that
accounting, yeah.
starts
Yeah.
flirting with his girl, and he's like, "You're fired," which means you get tossed down into like a pit in hell or something.
Yeah, just a pit opened underneath him and swallowed him.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a bit of an overreaction.
He asked her out. It's not even like, I could maybe see if it had been unwanted advances towards her and repeated, and he wasn't stopping.
Mm-hmm. But she says yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, not that, you know, it necessarily would have been okay to just murk him in front of her at that point either. I mean, but it's understandable to a more degree. But yeah, he literally just asked her out for coffee and she said yes. And he was like, "Wah, boom,
like, not
gone."
up in here, bitch.
Nah.
I decided I like you, so you're mine forever. Sucks to suck.
While we're talking about the world building, I was very confused at the time period because they're describing a modern office setting, but she's using quills.
Mm-hmm. But they also, especially in the second book, talk a lot about using computers.
Correct.
I feel like in the second book, the author must have solidified that a bit more and just decided that quills don't make any sense because then they start using pens and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just the first book that was unsure of itself.
You could also maybe assume that she gets a little more antiquated things because she's around him all the time and he wants certain things used around him.
Sure. Why not?
Yes,
And
sure.
maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
I like
The book is 85 pages.
Yeah.
Like,
it's definitely one of those where if you spend too much time thinking about it, you will talk yourself in circles. You'll be like, I don't understand why this. And now you're back to the beginning. And you're like, I did a lot of work for no reason.
we're definitely trying to take this in the spirit, I think, in which it was written, which
Yes.
is it's just supposed to be kind of cute and get you horny.
It's really just a vehicle for monster smut.
Yeah,
Let's be real clear. So,
And you know what? In
Yeah.
taken in that context, I liked it.
yeah.
I am so super confused, though, about Savin, who is the Lich,
Mhm.
Yes.
because the front image of the book is a typical kind of Grim Reaper skeletal creature.
Correct.
But then she describes him in the book, and he has like a lion's mane and like,
And face, I think.
yeah, and like kind of leathery skin, but also like fur in places. And I'm just like, my brain is not doing well here.
I think he also has horns.
Yeah, he has horns and 3 dicks
Yes.
for reasons.
3 very special dicks.
3
Yeah.
very special dicks. They were fun.
It's kind of like, I guess I gotta make another nerd reference. It's kind of like when you study geometry and they give you a problem to solve and they put under the picture not drawn to scale. And my brain is like, then why did you give me a picture if it's not drawn to scale?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The description was so unclear for me that I just fully replaced him with an average dude in my head.
I kind of just went werewolf-esque.
That's a little where I went with it too. I was like, I am now picturing kind of a Leosin from D&D.
Yeah.
Actually, I shouldn't say that. I didn't picture like an average dude. I pictured like the Phantom from the Phantom of the Opera when he wears that like skull mask thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then like has some of that skin damage and that weird hair thing that he's got going on in various places. And that's more of what I was kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise an average dude.
With 3 dicks.
With 3 dicks.
With 3 special dicks.
3 special dicks. He's a fun character, though, especially in later books because he gets sillier and sillier.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that like whenever he walks in a room, everybody goes, "Oh my god, it's the big evil Lich man." And Lily, the FMC, is kind of just like, "Nah, he's a big ass dork."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also like the explanation for the like all misty disguise thing that he has.
His big dark cloak.
Yeah, that it's slimming, and it actually is slimming. Like he can fit in the office.
Yeah.
Because of the magic of it. And I was like, okay, listen, you didn't give us a lot to go off of, but you made sense in that one, and I got to give you a win when you get one.
It also was amusing.
Yes.
The way he said it too. She's like, "Well, why do you bother wearing this cloak if you're because everyone kind of assumes that he is this like undead skeletal looking thing, and that's why he's wearing the cloak, because he's terrifying. And while I'm sure he is not terrifying in his actual form, he's not skeletal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, why do you wear that? And he's like, it's slimming. And just like leaves it at that. And it's fucking hilarious. Because
Right.
you're like, oh, well, it shrinks him.
Mm-hmm.
So he can actually like be in the elevator.
But getting back to his 3 special dicks,
Well, we have to, right?
we have to.
I mean,
we can't just
can't
ignore
just
the elephant
ignore.
trunks in the room, okay? All I could think when I was reading that is the Beavis and Butthead quote of like, she has 3 boobs. How many butts does she have? I kept thinking, he has 3 dicks. How many butts does he have?
I also love that for some reason, whenever he's in his own office, the Grand Satorum or whatever it's called, Sanctum, he's just like, I'm gonna be naked.
Mm-hmm.
And well, and apparently before they did things, he wasn't. He was always in the like robe thing and stuff, you know, or she knocked and he put it on again. But after stuff went down, he's just like, nah, I'm free balling all over my office.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Because I think she's the only other person that goes in there.
You know, for all the discussion of these multi-dicks, there's very little discussion and attention given to the balls. And I think that that's maybe a problem.
Do we normally get discussions of balls?
Not
for the most
usually.
part?
No, but I'm
usually
just
no.
saying, if you're going to tell me that much about these, the variety of dicks, you know,
Do you think
What
there's
are the
supposed
balls
to be more
doing?
balls?
I don't know. Do they hang low? Do they hang high? Does he keep them up in him? Listen, you guys have made me read so many of these monster romances where they got weird junk, okay? And so sometimes they go up inside them, okay?
Yes.
And sometimes that happens to real men too. So, what's happening?
We did not get this
We
knowledge.
don't know.
That's what I'm
sorry.
saying. That's a flaw, I think.
I couldn't help but get over the fact that his top dick is like, it's almost like it's got a sucker on the end or something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It suctions onto a clit. I am deeply sorry for that noise.
But
You
like,
should be.
its whole purpose is just for her pleasure.
Yeah.
Like, see, that's my big problem.
Well,
when you
I
get into these
wonder
monster
if-
romances,
If you don't have a clit for it to hook onto, maybe
Right.
it just like suction cups onto the stomach muscles and then gives you leverage.
see, that's what I need to know. When you're describing, when you're describing the dicks of any creature book, there needs to be some sort of like logical, scientific, evolutionary reason that we got there. I don't know why, but it upsets me in fantasy when it's only there just because. Why not?
I mean, I don't know that evolution's always the best at choosing dicks. Cats have barbed
I
penises.
was going to say, have you
That.
seen a duck dick?
Yeah.
No,
they're-
I'm not looking up animal penises.
They're corkscrewed and barbed.
Yeah, and there are evolutionary reasons for that. But
Yeah, the sex is so bad that they gotta
Yep.
keep them trapped.
yeah, well,
It's true. Also to scrub away the semen from other ducks. It's ugh.
You're gonna have to cut that.
I'm so sorry.
anyway,
Yeah.
let's get past that.
Yes,
I don't
Liz.
think we can. Sorry.
I'm very serious now.
Okay. Here's my question though,
Yeah.
because I know we're talking about the dicks, but let's be honest, we have to get there. We have to build up like the book does,
Mhm.
and we start with the shiver.
Uh-huh.
Why, if he has skin, why didn't he just do it himself?
Maybe he's already like it sounds like it's a one time only for all of these spells. So maybe he's already used his own personal shiver.
Also, maybe it can't come from him
As the
if
caster,
he is doing the casting.
Also, how easy is it to make yourself shiver? I don't know.
Also, the shiver scene was kind of hot.
So there, Liz, there's your answer.
I just need to know why.
Well,
I just need to know why.
you don't get to know why. You get speculation.
Okay, well, the kiss was pretty hot though that
Yeah.
they did.
Although she does fuck up the spell because she's not on the like altar or whatever.
Yeah, because she just goes in right away. But to be fair, Savin doesn't stop her. He could have just like stopped her and been like, "Nope, we need to do that over there."
Yeah.
do it over there.
Well, he doesn't stop her because he wants her.
Oh, he does. He does.
Also, by that point, he has already decided that he's not going to, I think, use the spell components he gets from her. He just hoards them because he doesn't want to, quote unquote, waste any portion of her, which I feel is actually more wasteful, but whatever.
It is, I won't lie, giving serial killer.
I mean, it is, yes.
He's an undead lich.
It's
okay.
true, but there's a difference. Okay, there's a difference between a demon who just kills for fun, right? Who's like, listen, I am evil, and I acknowledge that I'm evil. Serial killers give worse vibes. I can't explain why, but there is a difference. Maybe it's because they're real.
Probably.
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
Well, he does describe the fact that he hoards things like a dragon. He doesn't say like a dragon, but that's essentially what he's describing.
Mm-hmm.
And now he hoards Lily and all of the pieces of her, which, yeah, okay, saying it like that sounds like a
See?
serial killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway. Now we can talk about the 3 dicks. We talked about the kiss. Now we talk about her vulnerability.
I think we can talk about the 3 dicks whenever we want, Liz.
Sure. Anyway, so the next spell component is that she needs to be vulnerable. And her idea of doing that is to go onto the altar and get naked, which I suppose that is vulnerability, but not enough. So she has to admit to him that she wants him. She wants him so much.
She wants some of them 3 pains.
Especially because she got a view of the 3 peens before they got wound because she just walked into his office and he was just going rogue in there, which one could argue, one, it's his private office, he can do what he wants, but at the same time, you're in an office building, bud.
Yeah, she probably should have filled out a form with monster resources or human resources.
There's surprisingly a lot of rules regarding that for an office where it's okay to just send somebody into a portal to hell.
I think he has special rules.
Yeah, I think when you're the CEO, you get special rules, which,
Yeah, that's true to real life. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Well, and, just for science purposes, I think I would probably have sex with him too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'd be like, I just
Satisfy
gotta
the
know.
scientific curiosity.
Yeah. How does this all go down? I'm probably a little threatened by the situation, but I'm also curious. And you can't make advancements in science without, making some sacrifices. So,
yeah.
How do you really
science.
feel there?
It's for science.
It's for science.
I think the thing that upset me, though, about the monster spunt in this is we get the first scene where they're having sex on the altar, and that's all nice.
Uh-huh.
And then we don't get another sex scene until they start playing with the anal toy. But she says, oh, yeah, we've done all these things, and I'm so used to going to sit on his lap now and this other stuff. And I'm like, why?
But why? I know. See.
But why? Especially because I feel like the first time like a sexual encounter happens is a really interesting scene because there's vulnerability. They're trying to figure out what's happening. But the second time is also like equally as important. It was the first time real? Was it a fluke? Was it just like, and we didn't get to have the second one. And I like the second time for that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, pretty much after they have sex the first time, it's like all downhill from there. Like that is the climax and the climax. Hey. Very quickly, she starts wondering like if she's overstepped certain boundaries and does he actually have feelings for her or is it all in her head? And so the next thing you know, it's already at the resolution where she's like, so pretty much we're in love now. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, all right.
I will say in defense of that, they actually have become fairly close over the multiple years that she's worked there. So there was at least the little bit of character building and relationship building in that it's not like they just met where they're suddenly in love or whatever. Like they've known each other for I think 5 years now that she's worked there for him and everything. So it's not, at least there was something to build on.
Yeah. That's why up to the first sex scene, I was totally into it. 'Cause I was like, oh yeah, you guys are navigating this like relationship and this workplace romance situation. But like Wiggles said, it kind of, after that first time was just well, we're together now.
Yep.
She kind of yada yada yada's the ending for them.
Yeah.
You know, she goes from like, oh, they've admitted feelings for each other. Yada yada yada. They're now a power couple.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I guess it's the end of the book now.
I do appreciate that Lily, and maybe this more comes up in the later books, is always described as like being almost as scary as him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's definitely giving, I have the all-powerful evil lord that if I say jump, he says murder.
Yes. I also appreciate that like her best friend in the office is the HR lady. So she's like having all these conversations with essentially their HR person.
Yes.
Which we do get her POV, Janice, who is the FMT of the second book at the very end, which is her just being like, this is a bad idea. I told her so many times this is a bad idea. What happens when it goes wrong?
I was like, you shouldn't be doing this. There's so many things that are wrong about this situation. Are you sure you want this? Well, that's done. Moving on. Gonna go do some paperwork.
And that is honestly kind of the first book.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, everybody, that wraps up Love, Laugh, Lich. Now we're on to the orc
From
one.
the Office.
The orc from the office. I, for some reason, thought it had a more complicated title. Like I was thinking like the bee, Don't Trust the Bee from Apartment 23. And it's not that exciting. So that's on me. Well, why don't you tell me what the orc from the office is about, Danny?
All right. Well, we did previously discuss that it is Janice from HR, and she is very independent, and she's trying to get a filing cabinet open and having a difficult time with it because it got like wedged weird. And so she was trying to open it when this guy comes in. He's from IT. He's from IT. He comes into that room and he's like, oh, here, let me help, you know? And so he like bends down to help her get it, and she loses patience, and which is, it's such a thing that I also would have done. Just be like, no, just let me do it. And she grabs it and like yanks and lifts it, and it comes free. Well, she elbows him in the face and breaks his nose and makes him bleed. And apparently in orc society, because she bled him, they are now mated, essentially.
Well, they're in a blood haze.
Blood haze,
fever.
yes.
Yeah. And they're not officially mated until the end because they got to go through their little bonding sex ritual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the key thing, though, is that it doesn't happen to every situation where somebody makes an orc bleed. It's not just like, I stab you, we're together. There's some sort of trigger that nobody can really define.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't he say it doesn't happen to every orc either? It's kind of like a once in a lifetime, maybe. He didn't give a percent, but I got a vibe of like it's a 50-50 shot of whether or not you'll ever find somebody here.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says it's very rare.
Yeah.
Because at one point she's thinking, we just got to get past this and then you can meet another orc or something like that. So you can be with somebody that understands and is the right person for you. And he's just over there going, it's you. You're the right person for me.
But he's very sweet about it because he never
He doesn't pressure her about it.
Yeah, he never pressures her, and he doesn't even like straight up tell her how kind of upsetting it is to him that she doesn't want to be with him.
Right.
And like fulfill this whole mating thing.
Well, the closest we get to that is she overhears him talking to his mom on the phone in a stairwell, and he's basically telling her, he's like, no, humans don't do mating. Like, you don't understand, Mom.
Yeah.
No, we can't go to counseling. Like, this isn't a thing, Mom.
Right. And he's like, and so that's like the only like little bit that we get of him, because we don't get his perspective and we don't get any of the male main characters' perspectives in these books. So that's like the little nugget we get that he's actually very upset about this.
Yeah. I do think the author kind of did a good job of slowly having Janice come to that realization, because throughout most of the book, her perspective is just, okay, first off, it's an office place romance. We don't do that. Second, and for good reason, because she talks about like trauma from one of her past places and how she was in a relationship with somebody that fucked her over. And so she's just like, I'm going to get through this. We're gonna just wait out the blood fever and it'll be fine. And like slowly, as they continue to randomly sometimes interact, she gets pieces that he's like not on the same page as her, but is letting her call the shots.
Let's talk about what happens immediately following the first blood.
Oh, yes.
Because Janice is like freaking out from like an HR standpoint because she is HR, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That she just broke this man's nose and he's going to file a complaint at best, a lawsuit at worst, right? And meanwhile, he's just like, oh, fuck. Ma'am. Ooh, we got a problem. And it slowly starts like this like heat wave starts going through her body until she's finally like, I gotta get my hand down these pants.
Yeah.
I gotta rub one out in the
Foley
office.
is rubbing it out right in front of him. And I mean, the restraint he shows is powerful.
Well, kind of.
For a bit there.
Kind of.
Oh my God.
For someone who's throwing the punani at you.
Yeah, she's like fully going to
Swinging her
town.
cat at him.
Mhm.
Until he's like, can I help you? She's like, yes. And he's like, okay, eat you out.
He goes in fast. He's like,
Yeah.
yes, I will have a piece of this.
Yeah. Well, that's after though. Oh no, that's right before. So they finish that scene and he like comes up and goes, so actually we need to go talk to Monster Resources, which he's like, that's the whole reason I'm actually back here is we need to talk about some shit.
Right, because she doesn't go to putting her hands down her pants immediately from drawing blood. Like he goes to like clean himself up.
Yeah.
And she's like freaking out. And then he shows up at her office to be like, hey, ma'am, I need to talk to you. Cause like basically I'm now in love with you.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like mates. And so we gotta go talk to Monster Resources. That's hard to like say. MR. Yeah. Anyway, and she's like, "Tell me more about this." As she's DJing, I like the description that she has for what Khent is going through because she's just like, he's holding onto the door frame and is busting the fucking wood.
I'm so sorry. I had a mild mental stroke. Did you say she was DJing?
Yes.
Sure did.
I love it. Forever and always, that's what it shall be.
Wow.
We're gonna bring that.
Nope. Sound effects bad. We've gone too far.
We're gonna bring that up at random places, and our guy friends are gonna be like, "What are they talking about? You don't need to know, bud."
So last night, I was doing a little DJing, throwing some mad
Spinning
tunes
some-
there. Spinning some discs, as it were.
Some call me DJ Easy Rock. I'm not internationally known, but I'm known to rock a microphone.
Gotta get out. So, moving past DJing, he was busting the door down. Continue your thought.
That was it. That was just that he
Oh.
was breaking the door frame with his hand before he's finally like, I gotta get to the center of that Tootsie Pop,
Jesus Christ.
You are full of them tonight.
I will say that's pretty hot if some guy is like having to restrain himself so much
Uh-huh.
That
from
he's
getting at you that he's like busting the door frame.
To be fair, he is like a 7-foot tall orc.
Mm-hmm.
I think she said he's like 10 foot tall.
Oh, I don't know if I like that.
No, I don't like it either because there is one illustration in the book when they're in the bathhouse or whatever that place was, the holistic place,
Mm-hmm.
and she looks too small for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's real big and his dick is like the size of her whole torso.
Yeah, that's
And that
in her
doesn't work.
lungs now.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that's not healthy. Sometimes you got to put limits on that. I will say having the smutty drawings in some ways was nice because you were like, oh, that's nice. But they also, if I got a big critique, that they are not very good quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're probably done by the author.
Well, they look like they're done in like Corel Painter.
Okay.
Well, I guess maybe you got to be an artsy fartsy nerd like me. Anyway, I didn't love them. That's all I'm saying.
So they go to monster resources where we meet Gwen, who is the gal from the third book. And she basically tells them, you guys, if you guys don't want to do this, which also please don't, because then I have to do more paperwork. You got to stay away from each other.
And she's
no
like,
contact.
Blows dust off of a fucking VHS from the 90s and is like, now I will show you this video. It's very informative. How I picture Gwen is spot for spot. She's April from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yep. That's who we're dealing with in my head. But, you know.
Yeah. Which doesn't work because, well, they give poor Janice no information to go off of. And Gwen is like, once you do your own research, you have questions, come back to me. Not to Khent, the orc, because he's like, I'm an orc. I know all the things. But Janice then is like left to go do her own research. And yeah, if you look up orc mating in any universe, you're going to get to porn.
Anytime.
Indeed. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, I was really disappointed in this one aspect of the story. Although this is my favorite of the three, they set up this premise of like, he's going to send her recommendations.
Yes.
And that never happens.
Yeah.
Or I think maybe he does, but it's never something that happens on the page.
Right.
Which
means it's
a right bummer.
Yeah. Like they could have had a whole scene of them being on the phone while she DJs to his lessons.
While she's DJing and he's driving stick.
Yeah.
I do love that. So she's trying to do her research and she finds a porn video. And she's doing this at work. Because she's, you know, it's technically work related at this point that she's supposed to be trying to research this to find out how to help herself in this situation. It just, of course, as the internet do, fell into porn land. But he's in IT. So he kind of like gets the like notifications too of when things are not supposed to be things you're not supposed to be looking at. And so then he's all of a sudden he's having to message her to be like, hey, doing my job here.
Right.
It appears you're watching porn in the office.
Yeah.
I can only assume to a certain extent he was flattered.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
But also he kind of has to be like, you can't do that here because then I have to write you up.
Right. He's very much like this sweet, just innocent boy.
Yes.
Who just loves this woman unconditionally, but is also like, so here's the thing. I'm just doing my job, but also I need you to not do that anymore.
Well, they do describe him as like so socially adverse and conflict adverse that he's just like, no, don't make me. Don't make me.
I don't wanna.
I don't wanna.
I also love that she's like, oh God, I shouldn't be doing this at work. And then she like bookmarks the page for herself so that she can watch it later.
Well, she says she like watches it like a dozen more times or something like that. And when later on in the book, he finds out what she's been watching and she's like, well, it has a good story line. Okay. And he's like, oh, so you like the ones where they end up like mated at the end? And she's like, what's the point of watching porn without a story? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So then she is freaking out because she's going to get in trouble because of the porn.
Yeah.
And so isn't that when she tries to like break her computer or something?
I think she thinks about it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that she actually does, but she does talk to him about it on the phone, and she discusses the things that she has done to computers, and he's like, you're a monster. How dare you? She's like, I purposely put my laptop on a soft surface and let it suck in all of the fibers. And he's like, no. Please stop.
Yeah. Their little like email and phone conversations back and forth were very cute.
Yes.
They were.
I greatly enjoyed them. I was like, oh, all these things. Because, and you guys immediately moved on from Love, Laugh, Lich as well. But I discovered this on my own and was, instantly. I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this more than the first book. And I liked the first book just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, oh, there's cuteness behind this even more. And I loved their little like back and forth of him basically calling her a technological monster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she has to go do training, like IT training. So if you've ever been in corporate, you'll know exactly what this type of fucking training is.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love that for some reason they had to do it in person. So even though they're not supposed to be together, they have to go do this training in a conference room together.
I love that she also gets so many of the questions wrong, and he's just like, no, the answer is in the question. Right? What do you mean? Why are you like this? Why is the person that I am mated to someone who is an IT nightmare?
Right? Oh my God. I thought that too, though, when they were like describing the questions in the book and she was picking the very clearly wrong answers. I was just like, no, how you do this? How? A child could get this right.
Although that does lead them to having a discussion of like, how is he keeping his cool? And he's like, so I go to this spa, basically, and invites her to go with him.
Which, when they do that, my brain instantly went to, so you were told to not be together.
Uh-huh.
And now you're going to go to a spa together.
Where you get naked.
I feel like
maybe this wasn't well thought out.
Right.
Well, yes and no, though. He had full intention of just like, here's some people who can help you, and then like dip into his own room, but that she didn't let that happen either.
I do think that Khent, when he invited her to go with him, I don't want to say that he had like an ulterior motive, but I do think it was one of those, well, maybe she could just be next to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, he's all too happy to like, I think he like touches her back when they're walking through the door.
Yeah.
And I think that's his way of trying to get as much out of this as he can because he thinks she's not going to go through with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so just these little touches that he can hold on to.
Which are totally innocent. It's not like he's like, oh, I'm going to accidentally graze her ass. It's just like, oh, this is an innocent touch.
Mm-hmm. He was a cute boy.
It was a cute boy.
I did like Khent.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then Janice, sometimes she's real dumb.
She is chaotic, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't she literally describe herself as that? She's like, sometimes you just got to let unhinged Janice do what she's going to do.
All I could think was Janice from Friends. Oh my God. No?
I've never watched Friends.
I hate Friends.
What a room to be in. I'm pretty like neutral about Friends, but I thought everybody knew the Janice reference, so never mind. I guess we'll just cut that out.
Well, anyway, the spa is so interesting because they part ways and they go to their individual rooms, which sound very lovely.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a big room with a waterfall and some hot plates that you can have essential oils on, and then there's like a bath area. Sounded very nice.
I was gonna say I kind of wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's not sure what to do with the clothing situation. So naturally, she's going to check in with Khent, and he's already in the process of getting the naked on.
I can understand why she was confused because it was described as this holistic place, and it's helping him with the mate blood fever.
Mm-hmm.
So walking into the room, I would also be like, is there something special I'm supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have asked more questions before entering the room by myself, just saying. But,
Apparently Khent sent her videos too.
That she didn't watch.
That she did not watch.
Which feels very on brand.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
To be fair, if someone sent me instructional videos, my reaction would also be, I don't need those. I can figure it out for myself. And then when I can't figure it out for myself, it would have been really nice if someone had shown me how to do this. So
Yeah.
I did relate to Janice on that front.
Yeah.
I have anxiety enough that I would have watched them in detail.
Yeah, I would have watched them like multiple times and like written notes down and been like, okay, so I do this and then I do this and then I do this. We're good.
I'm just too independent to accept help until I have to. And that's a fatal flaw of mine. I might just die that way and be like, no, I can lift the car off of me myself. Thank you.
I think it's my independence though that makes me need to make sure that when I get to the situation, I don't have to ask for help.
See, and I think I agree with that for you. Mine is an overabundance of trying not to humiliate myself.
So her response to this is to go not find an employee,
No.
heaven forbid.
Mhm.
She goes to find Khent, the person she's not supposed to be around.
And he's a naked orc.
Yep. Also, can we talk about the fact that he's in orc and glasses, and for some reason I find that very sexy?
It's cute. It's cute.
Yeah.
But then she's like, okay, cool. I figured out the naked thing, and like goes back and decides she has another question, and then just like stays with him in his room.
Yeah, that was also like, girl, you is asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
and playing with his emotions kind of in that way too.
Yeah. Well, but I don't think she realized at that point, that scene is when she started to realize that she was playing with his emotions.
Yeah.
Because she did overhear the conversation with his mom, but that could have been taken multiple ways. It could have been taken the way that it was, which is that he also wants this. It could have been taken in the sense of him just being like, Mom, no, you're being overbearing and you don't really understand what's happening. So it's in the bathhouse that she realizes that this whole mating thing is kind of pretty important to his culture.
Mm-hmm. I think also this entire time she's still thinking that this is a mistake and that there's another one out there for him.
Yeah.
That is a thought that comes up in her head a lot too, of like, no. He can't be with a human. I'm human.
Yeah.
He needs an orc that understands orc stuff.
Mm-hmm. At one point, she can't relax, right? They're
Right.
doing what they're supposed to be doing to try and relax. He's shown her this special oil and makes a point to tell her not to touch it because that's what gets used in mating rituals. And then he's trying to help her relax. And so he just basically like grabs her arm and starts massaging it very innocently.
It's not innocent because at this point they've made it to the bath and
Well,
they're naked together.
Yes.
In the water.
Yes, but he's not trying to seduce her.
No.
He's just trying to help her relax.
To be fair, I did want a big orcish man to just rub my arms and shoulders when it was being described. I was like, yes.
It sounds nice.
I- the
I
things.
also was like, I'm not a big touching person. I don't like being touched all that much. And I was like, can I have a big orcish man just rub my arms and shoulders? That sounds lovely.
Right.
Yeah. I would lose my mind if somebody was like, I'm going to give you good massages. I'd be like, we're married now. So, seduction, check.
Yeah. And so then she climbs into his lap and I'm like, girl, you are not thinking with your upstairs brain anymore.
No.
Yep. Nope.
Upstairs Janice has left the building. Downstairs Janice is fully in control.
DJ Janice for the win.
DJ Janice, chicka chicka bow wow.
I love that. Like, they're getting horny for each other now. And she's like, well, what if just the tip? Like, that'll be fine, right? And I'm like,
The justification for every teenager in the world. Just the tip.
No.
Yes.
Which doesn't work. And
No.
then they just fully bone.
Yeah. Because, yeah.
Spoiler alert from everyone. It never works.
No.
I don't think that logic had anywhere near the sense that she thought she was having.
Oh, no.
Like,
No.
what was her thought? Okay, we're just gonna dip the tip, right? And then we're gonna go, okay, that was fun. Bye. Like what, girl?
Girl, no.
Anyway, so they do the do,
Yeah.
and then they just can't stop fucking.
Well, they also have a really good conversation in there about like, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here about orc culture versus human culture, or at least the culture that Janice has been in, which is very individualistic and like, you know, she doesn't have anybody to rely on, and she's never really thought about being in a romantic relationship where you're partners and you're there to like support each other and rely on each other. And Khent is talking about like, well, that's the entirety of Orcish community is like you rely on each other. There's always somebody to help or always somebody to help you. And after they're done fucking or like right in the middle of it, I can't remember, he's basically like, what if I was that person for you? And I was like, oh, poor sweet boy.
Oh, yes.
Which was not the tangent I was going to go on. That was because it wasn't a tangent. It was part of the book. The tangent I was going to go on, and stop me if this is too far.
That would say something about our podcast.
No. It's not sexual. It's So I've been thinking a lot recently about like the books that we read, especially monster supernatural romances that have like mating or just different cultures, like werewolf cultures, or usually creatures that are the good ones, right? Like if you have a book where the vampires are all bad, not them. But a lot of those cultures are very community based in these books.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me really think about like the zeitgeist that comes with these stories, which is our, especially in America, culture and community becomes so individualistic that we are now fantasizing about community-based cultures.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, even look at the ones that aren't monster romances.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones that are really big are things like mafia romances,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which are inevitably like a group of people
Mm-hmm.
often doing nefarious things, but still a group of collective people working
Yeah.
towards a common goal.
Same thing with motorcycle club romances.
Yeah. Even the Amish ones, I haven't read them, but I assume that's the appeal, right? You got your... I don't get it.
I don't get it.
But that's a
No.
tangent for a different day. But yeah, and I think when you look at the ones where the especially female main character doesn't have any friends,
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason that these guys are so appealing is because it's somebody to have with you all the time.
Well, and a lot of times, especially when the main female protagonist has no community around her for
Mhm.
herself that she's built herself, the male main character often has the big community around them. And so by joining in with him, she also gains that community.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's also present in small town romances
Mm-hmm.
because they romanticize the idea of everyone in these small towns getting along with each other for the most part. They Gilmore Girls, the small town.
Yeah.
Right? Which some parts are accurate, some parts are less accurate, right? But I think that a lot of people feel the detachment that is the creation of the nuclear family, especially amongst millennials and younger who are opting out of creating their own nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
And really leaning into the found family, which that trope, which I don't know if that's necessarily like a trope as much as just a theme,
Mm-hmm.
is really popular right now.
Well, and it's across media, and it
Yeah.
and it has been popular, I would argue, for the last like 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you, part of the reason people love Firefly so much is because it's entirely a found family.
Mhm.
Or Grey's Anatomy, right?
Mhm.
Mostly found family. The big shows, even like Supernatural, yes, it's two brothers at the core of it, but they're building a found family.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sherlock builds this found family with what's
Watson.
Martin Freeman's character?
Watson.
Watson.
I was like, literally the easiest
I
the
could
person
not.
to pull
It
out
was
of your
gone.
brain in regards to Sherlock.
It was the ether. Anyway, the point being, this is something very much that I think our generation is craving and
Yeah.
is either creating or is developing a wide variety of mental disorders as a result of not having.
So that was my tangent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My not so light and fluffy tangent that came from my light and fluffy books.
Well, I will say one more thing about that.
Yeah.
I think the future of what we're going to start seeing in romance books as the fantasy is essentially the going off and starting our own community thing is going to start showing up more. How many people have made the joke of, for us, it's, oh, we're going to all go to the same retirement home.
Yeah.
But I've also heard a ton of people make the joke of my retirement plan is to get 10 of my friends together, buy a plot of land and just live off of it together. Right. And I think that you're going to start seeing more and more of that creep into romance, whether it's in monster romance, like the Big Blue Aliens, Ice Planet,
Yeah.
where they're bringing these people into their community, or whether it's something more contemporary. I think that's going to be it.
We can untangent now.
Yep.
Okay. Pretty much after that, they start a relationship, but don't ever have the conversation of what the fuck they're doing,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
not
It's just
healthy.
so healthy.
Yeah.
So healthy. No.
Well, it's one thing to do it when it's just people and you're like, oh, well, let's kind of like
See where
feel
this
it out
goes.
and see where it goes and kind of like decide. It's another thing when you have like the blood mating thing going on.
Right. Neither one of them really has a handle on how it seems to be worse the longer they're in proximity with one another.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is that they get a huge rush of lust, I think in a meeting, and they meet up in an elevator, even though they know they're not supposed to be anywhere near each other at the office.
Yeah.
And he pulls the brake and they go, bow, 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 bow.
Yeah.
And like, I don't understand the thing. Okay. The plot point that is not plotting for me, okay, is Janice never at any point goes, I wonder if there are cameras in here, until after he's walked out and goes, that red light's a camera. I'm fucked. And it's like, you're HR.
Right.
Well, the thing that even makes it worse for me is he's IT.
Yes.
yeah.
Granted, IT actually has very little to do with security.
Yeah.
But still, between the two of them.
Yes.
They clearly were not thinking with certain brains in
Right.
the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, apparently blood fever makes you dumb.
Yeah,
I
dude.
mean, I know many a people that don't have the excuse of blood fever that were dumb because they were thinking with the wrong brain.
You
That's fair.
know, I think there's a lot of people who make some odd choices, because I just cannot imagine, and maybe I just haven't met somebody hot enough, but I can't imagine being so hot to trot that I'm like, if I don't fuck you in this elevator.
No, like I can
No.
understand like making out in an elevator.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but like I can't imagine being like, you know, we got to do it now, especially at work. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
I can't
yeah.
ever imagine being in a state of undress at all at work.
Right.
So yeah, I don't understand making some of those choices, and it kind of doesn't make sense for Janice, except for the blood fever
yeah.
thing.
Except then she immediately ends their relationship because she has like a big freak out that they're going to get caught. Even though Khent is like, I can just go wipe the security guy's footage. Like, it's not a big deal. And she's like, no, but we could accidentally do something like this again. And so we can't do anything ever.
Well, I
It's
kind
how
of
about
get
just
it.
be more cautious and cognizant of where you're getting down. Like, don't do it in the office.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it really depends on whether or not you believe that they're just really horny and they're not handling it well, or if the blood fever is actually impacting them that much that they couldn't stop themselves. And if that's the case, I think I understand why she would make that choice.
Yeah, if it's the second one, I get it. But
Yeah.
we don't get any clarity on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like almost depressed
Mm-hmm.
after this until there's like a fire alarm that goes off and Kent's mate brain kicks in and he like grabs her and goes out a window.
He,
This
like,
is where things got a little weird for me.
He like firemans her out the window, even though like it's just a drill.
Yeah. But it's
Also,
it's not a drill because somebody burnt popcorn.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. But also fun fact about Khent is he tells her later on that he has taken a magnet and put the camera or something like that and has erased the recording.
Yeah.
I will say either the author forgot that when she wrote the second one, or that didn't work at all and Kent's a dumbass. I don't know
it's
enough.
the second one.
I think it's the
I think
second
it's
one.
the second one.
I don't
there.
know enough about technology to say for sure, because of the second one, or excuse me, the third one, Gwen is like, yeah, I saw all of it.
Yeah.
I saw all of it. And then I'm a changed person.
But this is where things get a little weird for me. So they're like hanging on the side of the building while he's holding her. And then, he actually uses the word mate, which is like the first time that he goes, my mate, talking to her. And that like triggers something in her brain. And she's like, maybe this was all wrong and we actually should be together. And so they go and sit on this like really wide ledge that's not quite a balcony, is the way it was described.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand it either. At one point I was like, is he like doing a one-handed pull-up while doing this? The physics weren't physicking,
Yeah. And also like you're 5 stories up.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, it's going to be pretty windy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't understand it.
No.
So what I did in my brain is I constructed a little balcony that they landed on in order to make it make sense, because otherwise I couldn't keep reading.
See, what I did in my brain was I turned him into Spider-Man and just went with it.
Oh.
Yeah. Then they do the actual mating ceremony, which involves the oils and stuff. And then they fuck on the side of the building on the ledge that's not quite a balcony. These are the descriptions in the book that my brain is still trying to wrap itself around.
But yeah, and the oil ceremony thing is actually really sweet, because he helps her get some on her hands, right? And then she goes to kiss him and just like puts both hands on either side of his face, and she's like, oh no, I ruined it, because he's putting these like very delicate, like detailed things all over, and he's like, you can mark me however you want.
Yes. Khent. He was nice. The man was nice.
He was a sweet little nerd boy, and I liked it.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the end. There's like an epilogue where they're talking about meeting his mom and shit, and like it's cute. Oh, the one thing I didn't get about that, because we do get a couple of scenes where he is in her apartment, and if he's 10 feet tall and she's man at average woman size 5'6", 5'5", whatever, and even if these apartments are supposed to be universal to whatever monster size, the counters in the kitchen, either he's stooped down really low or she needs to have like step stools every time she's working in the kitchen.
Again, I think we forgot about physics when we were crafting this one.
Yeah.
And so you just got to let the time-space continuum do its thing and just meld it all together.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that is the orc from The Office.
That brings us to the gargoyle from General Management.
Sure is. I don't know what that I was trying to say. Yes. Liz, I'm going to throw this to you this time. Do you want to tell us what the gargoyle and General Management's about?
Yeah. So we have Gwen, who was our monster resource gal. She's a siren, but she appears human. Most people kind of like think she is human or some unknown monster, which apparently is a big thing because sirens have a bad rap for, being siren-y. She really seems to not like her job all that much or not care, and spends most of her time playing video games, working from home. But she has to go on this work retreat for a week in some whatever place at a hotel. The other key factor is that she's going to be working with this new hire who's out of a different office. His name is Vladis. They just call him Vlad most of the time in the book.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, so I have to do that, and then I have to go on the work retreat, and great. But on her way to the work retreat, she runs into this hot gargoyle man who she's like, all right, I could see something happening, especially because she's in heat. And then lo and behold, because book magic, she finds out at the work retreat that Vlad, this person that she has to start working with, is the hot gargoyle man. And they kind of just continue to have these run-ins. And then she has to be a DJ because of her siren heat.
She has to be a DJ.
Yep. she's gotta go DJing. And then for some reason, because again, people in these books don't understand, just make it back to a safe space to do this. She does it in a fucking conference room, and Vlad runs into her. And they just kind of like continue down that path for a while. I will say, I think I don't know. I think book 1 and book 3 are kind of even for me. This one's obviously a lot longer and has a lot more going on. Book 2 is just the standout of the best of the 3.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That said, like I would agree except that I would say that book 3 felt longer and not necessarily in a good way.
Yeah.
There's a fun element to what happens in the first 2 books where it's like, yes, it's set in an office, but you're not in the drudgery of the office environment. And in this one, God, there were points where I was just like, I feel like I'm actually at the office and I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I got bored about halfway through book 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a little bit of it was kind of like Gwen seemed a little repetitive
Yeah.
in her thoughts, which I get. Her, I want to say honestly, kind of depression
Yeah.
is repetitive, like because depression is repetitive. But Vlad also just wasn't a standout to me the way Khent or even Soven was.
Yeah.
Soven. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I feel like Vlad was kind of made into an object.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I think he was interesting at the beginning where you were like, oh, he's going to be very like type A and like he's going to be, you know, with her being so sloppy, he's going to be very neat as a pin. And so they're going to clash.
Right.
And that didn't really happen. And then he like loses even that flavor.
Well, which is really interesting because a big thing about Gwen talking about being a siren and not wanting people to know is they are often outside people view sirens as like so overly sexualized and that they treat people like objects. So to then have Vlad literally kind of fulfill that role when that's what she does not want.
Right.
Yeah. It was it just didn't quite work.
No. And again, I would say like the first chunk of the book, I was in. I think she spent a little bit too much time. Like maybe someone gave her the critique that she needed to put more detail in her book or something. Because this one, there was too much detail.
It was
like
like
I didn't need to sit with them through TSA.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that for myself. Like you could just mention that they went through TSA and there was a funny moment where they pulled out her dildo, right? Which is mortifying. But then like she has them sit next to each other on the plane, but Gwen does not notice until they're about to offboard. So that was like all that detail that was put into what was happening on the plane. I was like, again, I don't care that much.
I think it would have worked better had she noticed that they were together on the plane.
Yes.
I thought it was super weird that like she got on the plane and then like burritoed herself so much to the point that she didn't even recognize Vlad. And then when Vlad tried to be like, because he was like, I tried to talk to you, but you didn't respond. And she's just like, oh, I fall asleep real hard.
Well, and it kind of undermines this whole like the pheromones are so strong between them that it's setting her off, because if he was right next to her, it wouldn't make a lick of difference whether or not she could hear or see him.
Yeah.
She would be able to sense, smell, whatever, right? So that didn't make any sense to me. And it loses an opportunity for you to play with it, right? Like that's
Sorry.
Lock it up.
Well, that's
I'm sorry. It was an inappropriate thought that popped in my brain hole. And
but yeah, like that would have been a really great way to keep that tension going.
Yeah.
And it would have made the parts where she's thinking through all the things she has to do for work less boring, because it could have been, I have to talk to this person from work. God, why does he smell so good? And then, oh my God, I got to make sure I send that email. Stop looking at me, right? Like there's give and take there so that you're still getting your plot dump in there, but it's not boring.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So then everybody gets to these conference rooms where they're doing these big presentations, which I was so bored.
Yeah.
I was just like, am I on this fucking work retreat?
right?
Or maybe it was just because she wrote it so well that my brain was like, I've been in these situations before.
Right.
The second she took us there, I was like, oh my God, I fucking hate doing shit like that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Every single time I've had to do things like that, it did not end well.
Right. You don't come out with a gargoyle,
No.
buddy.
I've never come out of that experience closer to anybody. If anything, we're farther apart now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate everyone here.
Yeah. But then for some reason, not for some reason, like any of those stupid fucking work retreats, everybody's like, well, let's go get drunk now. And I'm like, okay, great.
They were
so
aggressive about it.
Yes, they were.
They were.
It's like, you're at work still.
I'd be like, I'm going to go be in my room and away from you fuckers. Bye.
Which is
Yeah.
what Gwen tries to do.
Yeah.
She gets hijacked a lot.
Yeah.
Then she makes out with Vlad at the bar in front of everybody, which I was kind of like, I feel like this is another thing where physics, but not like physics, but just spatial awareness isn't happening in this book.
Right.
Everybody could see the way you've described this room. Everybody is able to see what is happening.
Well, and the only explanation that we have for why they don't is because the author says that they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, I don't think that's how that works. But regardless, things get very hot and heavy. And she's like, whoa, this okay. And so she goes into the conference room where they're going to be meeting again the next day. Like an animal starts DJing.
Okay, here's my question. There's very clearly way better options.
Right.
One of them is to go up to your room.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is to go to the bathroom. The bathroom.
Right. My God.
At least you have a semblance of privacy in the bathroom. You can lock yourself in a stall.
Yeah, and if people come in, you can like stop for a little bit and then start again or do whatever you got to do, but you're not going to get walked in on, which is exactly what happens is Vlad walks in on her.
Right.
Like, at least if you're in the bathroom and you need to slow the DJing up, you can.
Yeah, play a slow song before you get back to the bumping and grinding music. I'm going to beat this fucking analogy and metaphor into the ground.
Yeah. But here's the thing that, and it's the basis for everything that happens afterwards, but it doesn't make sense. Vlad's choice is not to say, oh, excuse me, and then get as far away as possible. He says, oh, would you like me to guard the door?
I completely understand him being like, do you need help with that? Because they were just making out at the bar.
Yeah.
So I get that question.
Yeah.
I don't get the I'll guard the door.
Right.
And this is where she explains that she's a siren, I think, to him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
She's trying to make herself seem less crazy because she's DJing in a conference room.
right.
But
and I think he just took that way too far of, oh, this is a medical need. Let
This
me
is a
guard the
medical
door.
condition.
Right. It's like, oh, this is your version of an EpiPen. Okay.
Gotcha.
Understood. No. And then, like, basically she ends up leaning up against the door, both simultaneously hoping he doesn't hear her and hoping he does.
To be fair, I do understand what that feeling is like. Not specifically regarding DJing, but but the idea of like, I want him, I want them, but I don't want them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That part I get. And then they like just go their separate ways basically afterwards.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. Which, like, here's the thing. I'm not saying that that's not an okay setup for the book, but it is a big departure from what we got from the first two books. And so I wasn't prepared. I was like, oh, so they're not gonna, okay.
Right.
Oh.
This was trying to be, I think, a little bit more slow burn.
I do not think it was achieved well. I don't.
Yeah.
It was slow.
Yeah.
It did not necessarily keep the heat alive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because the next thing that happens is they've got a full day of fucking retreat, and they've got some banter about like taking notepads, which is just, it's a little sad
Yeah.
if that's what your banter is about. And then proceed to repeat the events of the previous night again, essentially. Only because there are people still in the conference room and the elevator's not working, so they can't go to either of their rooms. They go in a closet and she DJs she gives him a private DJ session.
Well, not at first, though, because she goes in there and he's guarding the door again. And then she gets really frustrated because she can't get off.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, I can't do it. And so then he goes in there and I'm like, okay, this is where it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Only he's like, no, just come here and sit on my knee and do it.
Yeah.
Which I think like the voyeurism kind of, it's not really voyeurism, is it? Maybe. I don't know.
Not really.
Aspect of that could have been hot, but it just left me very confused.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Well, She spent way more time focusing on trying not to get anything on his suit, which she ends up doing anyway.
Yeah.
That there's actually not that much that's about like the schmexy time of it all.
Right, because you could have really focused on where his hands are placed on her, or like their breathing patterns, or like, you know, does he lean in a little closer at one point? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that could have been focused on, even if they don't actually share, like he doesn't actually touch her. That could have been really hot, but
I'm going to harken back to a book we did a long time ago in Secretly Yours, right?
Yeah.
That is an example of where I think that's done very successfully. She's DJing in the kitchen in front of him, a little bit at his request, if I remember right. And
at his demand, essentially.
Well, yeah.
That was a good scene.
See, that was hot. And like,
well, that's because they're both masturbating.
Yeah, but if not at first,
right?
Yeah,
you know,
it starts out where she is fully playing a solo record there.
That is the analogy of the episode. My God. All right. Anyway, but like, you know, I think about there. I'm not saying that there's a right or wrong way to tell these stories. I'm far from saying that, but I am saying that you have to constantly be conscious of if you want the sex scene to be appealing, in whatever shape or form that it's taking, you have to make sure that the audience feels the tension and desire from all of it. And I wasn't at all. It felt almost mechanical.
Yeah.
And this is about the time of the book where I think things started to really fall off.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time doing work shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of the arc of Gwen, I think it's important. She like starts to actually develop relationships with people at work who she thinks all hate her, and it turns out the vast majority of them are just like her in that they're just keeping their heads down and dealing with their own shit.
Yeah.
And it's Kathy and Ted are employees that are the bane of her existence prior to this work trip because they constantly are filing complaints about each other. Kathy is like a bird woman.
Harpy.
There. And Ted is invisible. And apparently the phrase that keeps coming back is what happens on the work trip stays on the work trip. And so they're banging it out. And
they're hate fucking.
Yeah, you know, like you do. And Gwen chooses in a moment where she should technically do her job to not, and to just say, you know what, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
And that's enough to apparently endear her to Kathy forever, because she's just like, okay, and now we're best friends. You don't know this, but I've decided.
I really liked Kathy, though, her character.
I think that if there's a next book, it's Kathy and Ted.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
I do agree with you, though, that like Gwen's story arc of her thinking kind of so lowly of herself that she's just kind of like going through the motions and doing the bare minimum, even though she does have some passion, which comes out in little bits of conversations with her and Vlad, and then her like gaining friends at work and then realizing she could actually care about her job. And then at the end, she takes a different path. That is almost the story and not the relationship between Gwen and Vlad.
Yeah.
Except that at the end, and I'm not skipping much that is that interesting here.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Vlad is apparently under the impression that she is his mate. And we don't really like get any lore about like, are they like orcs where there's a chosen mate for them, or do they just decide to mate with somebody and it's more like human marriage?
Yeah.
And so that was confusing, but Vlad's just like, hey, so basically we're in love. And she's like, okay, I guess that's
all right.
Life now.
Yeah. I honestly can't even remember why she broke it off with him, because they do end up fucking on the trip and then they break up for reasons that I can't even remember.
This is what I remember of that. Basically, Vlad is trying to encourage her.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not his fault that she lashes out, but there's a type of encouragement that feels like an insult.
Yeah.
And he's very much engaging in that. And if you're already depressed and not feeling confident in the work that you're doing, when somebody cheers you on, it feels like they're mocking you.
Yeah.
And that's how she interprets his saying, like, no, you do have passion. You can do things really well. She's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
And also, you don't know me, bitch.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is correct.
Right.
He doesn't know her. She doesn't know him.
It's been 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And so some work things happen that are really boring. And she decides to go on after being like, oh, being away from him sucks. They're going on another work trip.
It's just to the second office. So it's to I think it's.
There's a conference.
Yeah. It's like a conference that Vlad and Kathy and Ted are presenting at or something.
Yeah. And they need an extra person because book math. And so she goes along to that. And then before we even get to Vlad and Gwen having a moment, it's her becoming friends with Janice and Lily and Kathy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And which is fine, like, but also a huge break from what the other two books were doing, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's also like a thing where the nice lady, Dana, whatever. We read
Deanna,
all
I
3
think.
books. There's too many characters. She lets everybody know that Gwen is a siren.
Right.
And so Gwen also has a freak out that everybody's going to hate her now
Mhm.
because she's this sex monster.
Right.
And so then they go to karaoke,
Yep.
which honestly, the best part of that was Savin, the Lich guy from book 1, doing karaoke.
Yeah.
And being really into it.
Yeah.
Like, won't let people off the hook. He's like, no, we're all doing karaoke.
Right. Yeah. And they go up to the roof again because he's a gargoyle and you have to be on high places to have big romantic moments
Mm-hmm.
when you're a gargoyle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And she decides then and there, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah.
It's like, so mating. And she's like, yep, let's do it. And so they mate. The other thing that bothers me about that whole scene is there's nothing to distinguish the sex that they have in that scene and how it's in any way a mating process.
Yeah.
Except they're doing it in the air.
Yeah.
He flies
But
up.
otherwise it's just sex. Like there's
Yeah.
no, so what does that even mean? Like if you fly while you have sex, then you've mated somebody?
What if you just want to have fly sex?
I would if I had wings.
I mean, same.
Yeah.
Although, so listen, my mind is not right for some of these books. I'm just saying I'm not who they're trying to reach, I don't think. Because I just kept thinking, you know, in all these books, they're always like, the cum is overflowing. I'm just like,
Well, yeah.
and all I can picture is that some of it drops from the sky onto someone's shoulder and they're like,
Like
oh
bird
God, it's bird poop. And it's worse.
Okay, girl, same, actually.
I did not think that, and now I cannot unthink that.
I honestly thought the same. I was like, oh God, those poor people below.
Right? Like, I was just like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this. You could have picked
Yeah.
not doing this in a city.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, do out in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like, though, in the ending, so skipping to the ending, that the thing Gwen decides to do, instead of being like, I'm going to really get into my job, she's like, you know, I actually don't like my job, so I'm just going to go part-time and then I can do art or whatever I want. And I was like, that's a really nice ending.
Yeah, I appreciated it.
Except money. So I'm assuming Vlad pays for things. I don't know.
Yeah.
When you start logicking.
Yeah, well.
Listen, if we've discovered anything about this series, applying logic makes it hurt. So we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, we
for
did all 3 books.
Yeah.
ratings time.
Let's do it what we normally do it. Let's start with Spice. We'll have to do all 3 books. So
Mhm.
Spice,
Lich. I'm gonna go with a 2.
The 2.
Yeah, I mean, like it has a decent amount of spice, especially per page ratio, but it also was for being a 3 schlong prize. It was a little tame, you know.
I guess.
I mean, yeah. I'm going to give it 2.5 just simply because of the 3 schlongs.
Sure.
I'll do that too. I'll
Yeah.
do the 2.5. The orc from The Office.
I liked their sex scenes better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The for all of our complaints about the bad choice making of the elevator one, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was in that
So I'm gonna
scene,
give
yeah.
that one a 3.
I was also thinking a 3.
Same.
The Gargoyle from General Management.
Like a I don't know, like a 2.
I'm back down to a 2.
Yeah, I'm back
Yeah.
down to it too.
Mostly just because the ratio of like, oh my God, can we get to the spice now?
The book bored
Mhm.
me
Mm-hmm.
for the most
did.
part.
And and not even in a sense of like I'm waiting to get to the parts that I want to read because that's the mood I'm in. Like I don't want to read about the office
I know.
that much. So
Romance. The Lich is like a 2. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not really much. It's so short. There's not time for
yeah,
Same, yeah.
I'll go with a 2.
The Orc from The Office.
That one's cuter, and
Yeah.
there's a lot more romance to it. If
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
being completely honest, so I think I might even throw it an extra 0.5 and give it a 3.5.
I was thinking a 3.5 as well.
I was thinking a 3. I really like their bantery stuff. It's
Mhm.
really cute and everything. And I love his discovery that she's a monster when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Gargoyle from General Management. Is it back down to like a 2, right?
I might
Yeah.
even go like a 1.5. Like,
I
where
was
is it
kind of leaning
romantic?
towards a 1.5. It's not even.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if the Lich is a 2, that has to be a 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got the spark between those two.
Yeah, I didn't
No.
either.
Yeah.
At least with the Lich, they have a established relationship as being very friendly, at least before things go in.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a little bit of banter in that one. Like, you know, he sends her flowers and he sends her an intern
Yeah.
to help her, even though she didn't want the intern.
You know, one other thing I had a problem with when it comes to Gargoyle, like as we're talking about that one, is she almost set it up for him to be a little bit of a dom,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then didn't explore that at all. And I was
Yeah.
like,
He tail fucks her in the elevator one
Yeah.
time, which was nice.
yeah.
But yeah, it kind of was like leading up towards something more.
Yeah, and it just
Yeah.
never got there.
Yeah. Okay, overall.
Lich, it was so short that like it almost benefits from it being short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give that one a 3.
I also gave it a 3.
Same.
Mhm.
Same. The Orc from The Office.
I liked that one the best, and
Yeah.
so I'm gonna give that one a 4.
I was also thinking a 4. I think it's one of those things where like not all 4s can be compared because like they're doing different things. And I
Yeah.
think what the Orc from The Office set out to do, it did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree with a 4.
Yeah,
Gargoyle from General Management.
2.
2.
2.
Yeah,
Bummer.
it just
It just kind of whopped.
honestly,
Yeah.
I think it would have been a much better book if she had kept with the format she was going with, which was
Mhm.
very brief.
Yeah.
I'm giving you just enough to understand the context, and then beefed up the character of Vlad, and then I think it would have been much better.
I think that's my biggest letdown is just that we went from Savin, who had like some character,
Mm-hmm.
to Khent, who had like a really nice character,
Mm-hmm.
and then to Vlad, who was just kind of
Dry
there.
toast.
He didn't even like fit into stereotypes. Which
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I love that, but like at least then as a reader you can lean on that a little bit,
right.
you know? So this is going to be a little bit different, but I think that we should also just give the series a rating.
Like an overall.
Yeah.
I would say like a 3.5.
Yeah, same.
You know, you're gonna go into it with a specific expectation. And if you know, like Danny, when you're talking about, you're like, I just want something fun and a little horny,
Yeah.
then that's what you're gonna get.
For me, it's a 3. I will say this for it. Sometimes you just want to read something really quick.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I think that makes the whole series better.
Yeah.
In and of itself, is that like if you go into it with the mindset of these stories are meant to be short stories, they are meant to be quick and
Yes.
and dirty,
And
dirty.
then that makes them much more acceptable for the amount of content that you get and the amount of story that you get. Versus if a 500-page book was trying to do the same thing, I would have thrown it across the room.
Yeah.
Because there's so much page for you to not be giving me.
I think somebody could write a 500-page version of.
Yeah, I think you could, but you would have to
world.
expand
Absolutely.
so
Yes.
much.
You'd have to do a lot more. It'd
Yeah.
have to be like the plot would. Yeah, you'd need a lot more.
Yeah. And all of the characters would need to be beefed up as
Yes.
people. Like
Yes,
even
yes.
the most, like in the orc from The Office, where I would argue that has the most character development, even they need to be heightened by a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
But so what are your recommendations?
So my suggestion would be the Monstrous Meet Cutes series. The first one being Audited by Anubis, by the Anubis. They also have kind of a little bit cutesy feel. They're not super, super long books. They're not quite as short as these ones are, but
Sure.
they're kind of cutesy that way and everything. I actually really enjoyed them.
Okay. Wiggles.
I am going to recommend Always Practice Safe Hex from the Juliet Cross Day Spell series, book number 4. It is a series that bleeds into each other, but you could read them as standalone. So if you were just like, I just want to read this one, you sure can. But in this one, the main characters are fighting over a grant, essentially, to help fund their projects. And so it's kind of got that workplace romance thing to it. There's also spicy tentacles. Spicy
Ooh.
phantom tentacles. Wall sex energy up the wazoo.
I do love me some wall sex energy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I also just recommend that series a lot.
You sure do. To be fair, I also recommend it a lot. It's sometimes it's like, who's going to recommend this time?
I just really enjoyed them. And so I think you will too.
Liz, what about you?
Okay. So I'll recommend one that we've done before. I think Muscles and Monsters by Ashley Bennett is a lot of the same vibe, same pacing, kind of just same lightness and cuteness to it. And then I would recommend the Over the Moon series by Etta Pierce. But there's a big caveat with this because it is a companion series to her Interstellar Union series, which I think if you at least read the first book of that, you'd get the Over the Moon series. But the reason I'm recommending her companion series is that one is intentionally lighter, and humans are the new species to the like intergalactic community of many species. And these humans are specifically not colonizing, but they're creating a new colony on this one planet with the help of some aliens. So there's these relationships with humans and other aliens. And
I
it's
do
very
love
nice.
a human alien one.
Yeah. So it's not workplace, but it also has like, what do we do on the planet? Well, we don't have a person that does hair, so I'm going to open a salon. So it kind of has like the same vibe in a way.
Oh, fun.
Okay. Well, folks, if you like this episode, I know it's a little bit different doing like an entire series instead of individual books, but what the fuck are we doing if we're not trying something new? Find us out there on the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets, primarily on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. Or you can go to our website at wrongdustjackets.com, find the full list of what we're going to do for the next like month or two, as well as our blog. And then please give us 5 stars. It helps so much. And all of the algorithms on the different podcast or music apps you are listening on. Thanks, folks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Say bye.
Thank you.